me down to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again, I pray the Lord that I now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again, I pray the Lord that I wake again.
Welcome to Dinner with the Coaches. I am your host, Lewis, and I am excited that you have decided to join Thomas and I each and every Sunday at 7 p.m. here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live with Dinner with the Coaches. We have an amazing show lined up for you. I can't wait to get started. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you also hit the notification bell so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you are watching us via Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok or Twitter, make sure you click like and share if you are blessed by the content that Thomas and I bring every week. Also, you can also support Thomas and I by sending us stars to help us earn money while we present more and more content. So make sure not necessarily put a star in the comment as some have, but you can actually click on stars at the top right-hand side of your page and support Thomas and I on the broadcast. So,
yeah.
Hey, partner, how are you?
Simply marvelous. Better than good and better than most and ready to go.
Yes, definitely.
Beautiful.
So awesome. So we've got an interesting topic today. We cannot wait to get into it. But before we actually get into that topic, we're going to play this quick video and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Dinner with the Coaches. We are back and we are excited. If you are joining us, make sure you engage with us. Put it in the comments if you are what state you're watching us from, and let us know if you are a coach, a business owner, presuming to be a coach, presuming to be a business owner. Let us know in the comments. We love to engage and converse with you during Dinner with the Coaches tonight. So let's eat. Come on, Thomas. What you got?
Woo! Well, hey, last week we had Miss Charmaine on. You know, we got into the health and the nutrition and, you know, kind of detoxifying our bodies as well as our mind. And that was a great show, you know, for those that were able to watch it. And if not, you could go back and take a look at it again. So we're going to kind of stay in that mindset vein, right? Yes. Especially during these times, right? Beginning of the year, new year, but we kind of still coming out of, you know, COVID, right? So really want to talk about, you know, how to shift your mindset during this new normal, right? So we mean new normal. Hey, good evening. We mean this new normal. We talk about this new normal. It's on the other side of COVID, right? Because I don't know about, you guys, but I've noticed that since COVID, like things has changed out there, right?
Yeah.
Especially customer service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're on the phone or in the stores, in the supermarket, man, like this customer service thing, boy, it went out with the 90s or something, man. Like people don't understand how important, how relative customer service is, man.
Oh
So
my gosh.
that's a mindset issue, and some management issue. I mean, it's just a whole lot of different things across the board. But I just would like to talk tonight just about being able to shift your mind, right? Because things are not how they used to be, nor do we know if they ever will be like they were, right? So can we talk about it? Can we talk about what's really going on out there, Nadira?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it, because the reality is that I think pretty much everybody knows that things aren't going to the same. I mean, just go to the store, just try to buy some eggs. That'll teach you real quick. It's almost like you have to choose between buying eggs or gas.
Ooh,
So,
you don't have to be a math teacher to figure that one out, boy.
Exactly, or buy your own chicken. But I think it's important, it's relevant to, though we may know it subconsciously, I think we need to build conversations around it, because believe it or not, it has changed how we interact with one another. Whether it's on a personal level, it's affected how we do business together, because things are drastically changing, and they're going to continue to change. So it's our responsibility to have conversations on how to deal with those changes, whether it's in our business or it's in our personal life. So definitely.
Yeah, that makes a world of a difference, right? So when you attribute your actual business, right? Yeah, look at that. Everything is shifting. Yeah. We have to 100%, right?
Definitely.
So when you realize that things have shifted and will kind of continue to shift, you almost have to get ahead of it, right? So what I mean by that is you almost have to think ahead, right? Like not necessarily ultimately where you are in your business, but where do you want to be, right? Because Nadir and I were just having that conversation, backstage, in terms of your why. Like why are you doing what you're actually doing, right? So that's attributed to the mindset. And I will say this, if you make a decision today for today, you're actually behind. Why? I'm gonna say that again.
Wow.
If you make a decision today for today, you are behind.
Wow.
Why? Because when tomorrow comes, you're not prepared. You're not ready.
Right.
Because the decision that you made, it only impacts you for that day. Right? So we have to expand our mindset past our current reality. Hence, that's why I'm a visionary coach, right? Visionary coach, because we have to have a larger vision, not where we are. If we don't get with the shift, then we'll become irrelevant. Amen. Absolutely. Right? So your mindset, it cannot just be where you are. And unfortunately, what happens is most people get caught in their current reality. Why? Because we always talk about vision. And we always talk about seeing it in our mind's eye. Well, guess what, Nadira? Most people have to see it before they believe it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it again. Most people have to see it before they actually believe it. So that's just like making the decision today for today, right? So how do we expand our mind, right? So I read a book by T. Harv Eker called The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, right? The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. And in the book, he talks about how we do anything is how we do everything.
Everything.
Right? It's two kind of books in one, right? Whereas, most of us were raised, and I want you to finish my sentence. We can't have our cake and
eat it too.
Ooh, money don't grow on
trees.
See, we've been conditioned. So in the book, he talks about the rich, how the rich think. The rich think, how can I have both? Where most of us, how we grew up is either or. Why can't I have my cake and eat it too? Because I was taught you can't.
I don't know how you have a cake and don't eat it. So,
hey, I don't know either. But those who came up with the phrase, it's embedded in our minds, though.
Absolutely.
Right. So if it's in our minds and if our subconscious, that's how we move.
Absolutely.
Right. So if you listen to people when they speak, they typically speak in either I have to do this or I have to do that. Right. They don't stretch their mind. And I want our listening audience this evening to stretch your mind past either or. That's a fixed mindset. Right. And I'm not talking about whether or not you actually physically can do both. But can you think about how to do both or how to get both done? It's a different mindset than I got to do this or I got to do that. It's almost like a cop out. It's almost like an easy way out. Well, I really can only do one. Well, who says that? You didn't even apply yourself. Think and Grow Rich. Oh yeah, that's another one. That's the staple. That's the staple of mindset, right? How and Nadir and I were just talking about that, right? How powerful your mind is, right? To think about things before they materialize. Well, we talked about the Almighty, the all-knowing, right? When you really think about that ability, and when he says we were created in his likeness, in his image, God doesn't use his hands. He speaks a word. That's why somewhere in there, if you read in Proverbs, what does it say? It says somewhere about life and death is where? It's in the power of what?
Of your tongue.
Of your tongue. Right. He didn't say your hands. They didn't say your power, your hands.
Right. I think what we have to remember is the key thing is think. It doesn't matter how much you desire. We're in a day and time now where thinking is unheard of. We don't want to use what's between our ears. In order to be creative, it requires you to what? Think. In order for you to evolve, it causes and requires you to think. So when we don't do things like read and explore and do things to expand our mind, we are not going to think and be able to do the thing. We're not going to be able to think and grow and be rich. We're not going to be able to do it because in order to do that, you have to think, right? Thinking causes you to grow, right? How many people have spent time thinking and stayed in the same place? If you are, something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong because thinking requires a change in movement, a change in action. So no matter what you're applying this to in your life, you have to learn how to exercise. Back when we were in school, I never really understood the purpose of algebra. I hated algebra. Like, literally, what does this have to do with life? Because somebody please tell me. They failed to tell you that algebra creates critical thinking, helps you with critical thinking. So when you're in school and you're learning how to solve problems, you're learning how this represents something else. And knowing that mentally, you have to be able to think, how does this apply? If somebody would have told me that algebra was going to be critical to how I see life, I probably would have did a little bit better in algebra. But because we live in a day and time where everything is quick, because the reality is there's a flip side to both. Even when I did Sisterhood Check-In, I was talking about knowing the season that you're in, but there's a flip side of that also because we live in an information society. So you almost like have to get in the currency of information. And in order to do that, you have to know what to do with that information that you get, because we consume information on a day-to-day basis. I mean, literally, we are consuming stuff like today. I can't tell you. Sometimes I had to just sit down and just shut down my brain for a minute because there's always a constant consuming of information, whether it's business, personal, whatever. So if you don't know what to do with that information, if you don't know how to process that information, then you're going to have a whole bunch of information in your head, no growth, and you're not going to be able to shift. So part of shifting with part of the shift in the mindset is being able to flow and being able to think, being able to take the information that you have and apply it.
Yeah, it makes a difference because you're talking about, reacting versus thinking, right? And unfortunately, sometimes when you turn on the 6 o'clock news, you see a lot of individuals who didn't utilize problem resolution skills, right? They just actually responded to something, right? But there was no problem resolution skills. It was just a quick reaction. And now all of a sudden, things are a little bit different, right? So that's definitely critical. And when you're talking about thinking and slowing down, unfortunately, society is not designed that way, right? Society just wants everybody to react. Even purchases, right? So that's why commercials are like subliminal flashes, subliminal messages, right? So they can get you to be what? An impulse buyer, right? Because in your mind you see these flashes. Oh, Burger King commercial. Oh, I gotta go get me a Whopper, right? Starbucks commercial. Oh, I need some coffee, right? Just all of these subliminals that play in your subconscious, right? Right along the lines we're talking about, thinking. Well, the other thing is, we could get a little bit deeper. Let's talk about how COVID forced the world to slow down. How about that one? Commercials are captivating. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. now let's talk about and how COVID, exposed is the word I'm going to use, a lot of relationships. And they didn't make it out of COVID because now you're confined. You have nowhere to go. Right? Now you may have to think versus react and leave the house or just go to happy hour instead of coming home. And now you have to deal with the decisions that you made. Business and or personal. It put a lot of strain, a lot of pressure on relationships.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny because I think also what it did was, we're good as a people at putting up facades. We're good at going with the flow, right? I hate that word, go with the flow. I am not going with the flow in anything, Now, once I'm in, we can flow, but to go with the flow, that's a whole nother situation. That makes my skin crawl. But the reality is that because we are in a society where everything is quick, go. We never really had time to really slow down and deal with issues and things that we need to pertain to our business. So we're just going, it's like we're passing the baton, go. COVID has taught us to slow down. Now, all this stuff that you say you have, let's see it manifest. You say you're creative director. You say that you're able to do this. Let's see some of that creativity. Now you don't have anything holding you back. Now it's helping you realize, especially people that are, especially entrepreneurs, this is where we're able to exercise our resourcefulness. This day and time, this is the time to prove your resourcefulness. If you say you have a business, now you may have had to shut your business down. But had we been in the mindset of constantly evolving and thinking, right? Some businesses realize, I may have had to close down, but I'm going to go now take my business and bring it online. Or I may have had it online, but now I have to bring it. I have to collaborate with another company like Uber Eats, Grubhub to expand. And some people may, and I know a lot of people who did exceptionally well when they did that, because they had to think beyond, because we don't know what our circumstance is going to be from day to day. And a part of being an entrepreneur and a business owner is being able to think, being able to resolve. When you are working a 9 to 5, you have somebody else doing the thinking for you. So you're being paid to be in a position to fulfill that position. But when you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, you're forced to be resourceful. So I think what this pandemic has taught us is that we have to learn how to constantly be resourceful and constantly be thinking in think mode, no matter what the circumstance is.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, I did a Facebook Live this morning about that. You know, Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrants, right? The E, the S, the B, and the I, right? So E for employee, like you just talked about, and then you kind of move to the S, which is self-employed. Whereas, you know, you may not leave your job right away, but you created another stream of income, right? Whereas, you know, you may be able to identify certain gifts and talents that you have, and you utilize those, and you created a business structure and framework around it. Now you're still in your 9 to 5, and now you are actually, you know, have an LLC or some sort of business entity where you're servicing the people, right? And then you move over to the B quadrant, which is what you're talking about, a business owner, right? Now that's significant because now you've created and or developed systems. Right, you may have employees, but you have systems now. Right. So you kind of move from, you know, just managing, you know, individuals, especially if it's just you as self-employed, to managing systems. Right. And then ultimately to the I, and the I is the investor. Whereas now your money is working for you. Right. All of those are mindset things, right? So if you just look at that, if you take a moment, just look at that, you got to be honest with yourself to identify where you are on the spectrum. Are you an employee and you're comfortable with being an employee and that's all you aspire to be? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
If you want to be in a position where to acquire, you know, more income and start to become self-employed, that's fine. Identify that. And then what are your skills versus your gifts? Right? So just be honest with yourself in terms of knowing where you are. And if you're not comfortable where you are, being open to accept change. And what is it going to take, Nadir, for me to move to a different quadrant?
It's definitely going to take a shift in the mindset, because to go from employee to entrepreneur, there has to be a shift in the mindset. You just don't go, because when you're used to getting paid by the hour based on a position, whether you fulfill that position or not, or whether you're dedicated to making sure that task is done or not, you're going to be paid. May not be for very long.
Yeah, because ain't no free money out there.
Right. But you're going to get it. But when you are an entrepreneur, you have to pull together. You have to constantly pull your resources together so that you can make sure that things are just, because if not, if you don't have your resources intact and you don't have systems in place, what's going to happen is you go from an entrepreneur / hustler, which means you go from, you know, snatching and grabbing, you know, snatching and grabbing. And what happens is it's fear-based.
Yeah.
And why I say it's fear-based because you don't know if you're going to make the money tomorrow or not. You don't know if you're going to make it the day or not. So you throwing things against the wall out of fear, hoping that something is going to work. But what happens is when you sit down and you begin to dig deep, and sometimes that doesn't happen automatically. Sometimes you have to evolve into that mindset. You know, that's the thing about mindset. It's not instant. It's constant, you know, intentional work at making sure that you're becoming better at who you are. Because the more you tap into understanding who you are and what you're called to do, then it makes your why, like Thomas and I were talking about, makes you, you know, and so you makes your why a little bit stronger. Then you don't have to worry about throwing stuff against the wall. Now you're strategically putting things together because you know the goal is to make impact. My business is your business making an impact in your community. It doesn't, your business, and you can be online and still make impact. You can have a business online and make impact. You don't have to have a physical brick and mortar business to make impact in the business world. If your business is changing the minds and hearts of the people that you will consider your ideal customer, like with, if you're in the health industry or you're in the fitness industry, if you are changing people's lives, both physically, spiritually, and emotionally, you are in a position of impact. Now, to what degree it's impacting them will be to the degree that there's an exchange of value. In exchange for value, they're going to give you their resources. And once you're able to determine your value, or once they determine that you're valuable to them, then money exchange is going to be, it's not going to be difficult at all. So the more emphasis you put on the value that you carry in your community, or whether it's in your group, your Facebook group, or whether it's on your website, you have to put more emphasis on changing your mind and realize, how can I make an impact? I was born to solve a problem. Find out what that problem is and create the structure around how to help people. Because when you come from the narrative of the mindset of, I just want to make a quick buck, you may make a quick buck, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be in business for very long. Right. So you have to make sure that you're like a doctor. Thomas, we were talking about this earlier today. And we were saying, just like a doctor, an insurance agent, a real estate agent, you have to do continuing education. You don't get to do it one time, get your license and be done. And as coaches, as business owners, we have to make sure that we're continuously researching our area of expertise. Right. It doesn't matter, because information, like I said, we're in the information pool. It doesn't matter if the information that you researched yesterday is irrelevant today. Information is like currency. So it's not enough for a doctor to know. You think I want to be comfortable with a doctor who only knew information 10, 20 years ago and has no current knowledge of how it's working today?
Present day. So
if you want people to know, like, and trust you in your business, then you have to make sure that you're presenting the most up-to-date information that's relevant to their lives and their business, so that they can feel like, you know what, I can stay in this currency and I can support you.
Yeah. That makes a difference. Well, we're going to go to a little break, but when we come back, we're going to just dig a little bit deeper and give you some practical steps on how do you shift your mindset.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after this. I did a broadcast a couple of months ago, and I was saying how if you don't operate in your season, you're useless. So, and I gave the example of the fig tree, right? And I said that how Jesus cursed the fig tree because it was time.
IBG Careers is looking for customer service representatives needed to service their customers from home. If you're interested, please apply at www.
I've done some terrible things in my life.
Some of them I chose to do.
And I own these choices.
But others, I just feel like I was swept up in a series of circumstances that didn't involve my will.
They just sort of happened to me.
I've become the culmination of those choices and circumstances.
So I guess I just need to say it.
I really need some help.
Hi, I'm Nadira Lewis, author, life, and business coach, and founder of the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs Wisdom Academy. I help women take their life experiences and turn them into life lessons. I also believe that just like hurt people, transform people can transform people too. Make sure you book a call with me at www.womanofproverbscoaching.com, and I'll see you on the other side. victory.
Hey, and we are back with our second half with Dinner with the Coaches with my co-host Thomas Taylor III. And if you are just now watching us, you have missed out on the first segment. We have talking about our title today is how to shift your mindset in this new normal. So Thomas is going to go ahead and take us into the second half. So Thomas, bring us on home.
Yeah, Nadir, before we do that, why don't you read some of these comments, because these comments are going to lead us right into the second half.
Definitely. Thank you all for each and every one of you that always engage with us each and every Sunday. Thank you so much to Khadija. Khadija said, hey, good people. Hey, Deej. And we have Facebook says, hey, coaches, happy Sunday to you too. Happy Sunday.
Amen.
Happy Sunday. Shifting is the word for this season. We got to realize that everything is shifting, and therefore we are being shifted too. Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely. That's the key thing, is to know that. If we don't get with the shifting, we'll become irrelevant and get left behind. Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much.
Like blockbusters.
Absolutely. When tomorrow comes, you become irrelevant. Ooh. Somebody's getting this, Thomas. They're listening. Somebody's getting it. I'm reading Think and Grow Rich, and it's shifting my mindset. Good. Awesome. Good evening, Deborah. Thank you for joining us. In this book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill is teaching you to set your mind for millions or money and see yourself therefore already, and even write it down and read what you wrote daily to make it become a reality. Absolutely.
We're going to talk about that.
Yes, reading the book has challenged me to also use creative thinking, because I am trying to get somewhere. Nothing I am currently doing will get me there, and it helped me. Absolutely. Also, another response: commercials are captivating. Yes, but have you also? We're going to talk about that too, because I have something to say about commercials, because we're not seeing we're not watching TV like we used to. Our commercials are more internet based now. I also have had to find myself talking to God about myself and asking him to help me to tap into what he has already placed in me for the shifting. Ooh, what do you have to say about that, Thomas?
Yeah, that's real interesting, man. That comment and the one prior to that, in terms of reading the book, I'm currently doing what will get me there, right? And those two are really important. So how do we shift our mind, right? So some of the listeners and the viewers are hitting on it, right? Books like Think and Grow Rich, because it really taps into the mindset, right? So here's some practical steps. I'm going to talk about 3 practical steps. The first step is, where are you? Okay. And this is in shifting of your mind. Like, where are you? Meaning, you have to be honest with yourself, right? Do you have what they call stinking thinking, right? Or do you have a situation where you have a negative environment? Right? So these things are key. Or how about your spouse? How about the person that's closest to you? Right? Or your support system? Do they believe in you? Right? Or are there obstacles that they're presenting to you while you're trying to expand your mind, that's making you hesitate and not be too sure? Right? So the first step is, we have to be honest with ourselves, right? To know where we are, right? So say, we're in the Atlanta, Georgia area, Nadira. Say we're going to Virginia, right? So we jump on the highway, we get on 85, and actually to get to Virginia, we could take 85 straight up. Woo, no problem, right? But we make a stop in Charlotte. Make a stop at the little rest area, and we look at a map. Right? Now we know pretty much from Atlanta to Virginia, about 10 hours, let's say, right? Right now, if we go to Charlotte is about 3 hours. So we already know off the top of our head, we got a minimum of 7 hours depending upon traffic. Well, when we look at this map on how to get to Virginia, the first thing we have to know is what? Where are we?
Where are we?
So what's going to be on that map in red, Nadira? What is it going to say?
Wow.
You are here. Not there.
Mm-hmm.
On that map, it says you are here.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's a reference point to where you're going. You, as they say, you are here. They said it, right? The user said, you are here, right? So you're not in Atlanta, Georgia. No. Even if you was sleeping along the ride, when you woke up, you was joggy, you went to the bathroom, you looked on the map, it says you are here.
Whether you believe it or not.
Whether you believe it or not, you are here, right? Right. So I just, I'm using comedy, but I just want our listeners to really understand the point. That's the first step in order to understand how to get somewhere else. You have to know where you are. Absolutely. Right. So if you have, people around you or negative situations where it's challenging to expand your mind past your current reality, it's going to be difficult to get there, like wherever you go. The second thing is, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? We stated in this example, we want to go to Virginia. Okay. What does that look like? Right? Somebody talk about goals. What's the goal? Right? Somebody talked about write it down. Did we write the goal down? So somewhere in that book we read that has 66 chapters, somewhere in Habakkuk, matter of fact, Habakkuk 2:2, what does it talk about? It talks about writing down the vision. It's very important, ladies and gentlemen. What's the goal? Well, we are going to Virginia. That's the goal. So wherever you're expanding your mind to go, write it down. That's significant. But first you have to know, where is that, Nadira?
Right.
Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Right? So some people may want to, do 5 figures a month. Some people may want to do 6 figures a month. Right? But if you listen to most people, when they talk about 6 figures, and I'm going to ask you, Nadira, when they talk about 6 figures, what number they usually reference when they say 6 figures?
100,000, 10,000 a month.
100,000, right? Not realizing 6 figures goes from 100,000 to 999,999. Why are we stopping at 100,000? Why are we stopping at 100,000?
That's a great point. That is a great point. I never thought about that, but it makes so much sense.
6 figures don't stop at 100,000. But what happens is 100,000 is a safe place because we typically hear people talk about it.
Right.
So we say, okay, we even got the numbers. $8,333 a month is 100,000. I know this is in my head. It's in my brain. That's the math. But we stop at 100,000, not realizing it goes all the way up to 999,000. 6 figures, ladies and gentlemen. Too much, Nadira. Too funny, right? Too much.
And some people don't realize that even in desiring that, there is I think what happened is we have to have a realistic approach. And I want to respond to this comment. We got to start telling ourselves that we have what it takes to get there. And if we don't, we must know how to gather from outside of ourselves what we need through all of the resources around us. Absolutely.
Amen.
I have a different approach to it. I think too, we need to realistically, because sometimes when you ask people how much they want to make, they just throw out numbers that sound nice, but they don't really have a realistic like a realistic approach to that. Yeah, I want to make 10,000 a month. Okay, so do you have products? Like, do you plan on, if your products are $10, boy, you're gonna be doing a lot of work. If you sell a product or service that's 10 or 15 or $20, you're gonna be working like a Hebrew slave to make 100,000, make a six-figure income. But being in a position to say, okay, I want to make 100,000. So what products do you have to support that'll help you get there a lot faster than you just choosing a $10 product? And that means that if you don't have a system in place, these are the things that people don't tell you. If you don't have a system in place, it's going to be really difficult to sell $100,000 worth of a product for 10,000 if you don't have the right marketing in place. If you don't know who your ideal customer is, you're going to be throwing money away trying to collect money, and you're going to be throwing away money. So there's some in between middle stuff that needs to be addressed, which is why having a coach is important to help you take you through the steps to get you from point A to point B. If you know you want to make a certain amount of money a month, then let us show you how to do that. Let us show you how to take an idea, right, or a vision, right, and use the gifts that you have and turn it into a product or service that can make potentially what you're asking for. But there is you just don't go to making $100,000 a year. There's some processes that has to go in place. There's some mindset shifts. There's some things that have to be taken. There's some research. You just don't go into business and just say, I want to make $100,000. And then you think, oh, I didn't make no money. My business is failing because you've been in business for 2 months and you haven't really done any research. You don't know who your ideal customer is. And yet you get frustrated and people give up because they don't understand that the first 5 years in a business, most people don't do well at all unless you have a key product or service that people actually need and it takes off.
Yeah. That goes into my third and final step. But to your point, to piggyback off of your point, that's why we're just giving these 3 steps, because everything you just said, we take them right back to step 1. Where are you? And you got to be honest with yourself, right? If you want to get here, okay, where are you? Right? Because then you see what the difference is between here and here. Right? And so the last step, kind of piggyback off of the bottom side of what you're saying, is, do you believe you can get there?
And you gotta listen to people who've been there. You know, if you haven't made that much a month, it's gonna be kind of difficult to tell somebody how to do that. you don't even have the mindset really to really understand what it takes to get there. If you haven't made 6 figures yourself, if you haven't made $10,000 a month, it's kind of tough to tell somebody how to make $10,000 a month if you haven't made $10,000 a month.
Yeah. But that's key when you talk about a coach, right?
Right.
That's key. So now a coach is going to help you with that belief, right? Because they're going to expand and stretch your reality and your stretch your belief past your current reality, right? They're gonna put things in your area, right? The area that you're in, to challenge you, and then they're going to support you. They're going to hold you accountable, right? So the significance, like Nadira is saying, of a coach is, and I said this on one of my Facebook lives, or even could have been my reel, right? When you look at, the Tiger Woods of the world, the Venus and Serena Williams, even Oprah, Michael Jordan, they have one thing in common. They all had a coach. And we feel that we can just live our life vicariously, set these high expectations, and not have somebody who's been there show us the way.
Right.
Because unfortunately, especially in our community, we don't do couches, right? So we don't go and sit on anybody's couch. That's not what we do, right? Only if we had a prescription or a mandate to do it, a court order, then we might go. It's just that's just what it is, right? I always say we don't do couches, but we need to do a coach. But unfortunately, in our community, we say, well, why would I pay somebody to tell me what I already know? The problem is you're not doing what you think you know.
And sometimes you have to pay attention. It's funny because I was telling a friend of mine this, I think it was like a year or 2 ago. And I was saying I was a part of, this program. And I thought, wait a minute, I already know this? Why am I paying X amount of dollars for them to tell me the exact same thing? Because what happened was I didn't have the confidence that what God was already placed on the inside of me was already present. I just needed to put it into action. But I was always feeling the need to do more. This person says, I see a coach as very important, and I plan to incorporate that too. That is my beginning budget. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Reach out. Have them reach out. Send us a DM. Let us know what you need and what you're trying to do.
Yes. And Thomas and I use a very unique approach in our coaching services. We don't just go and shoot from the hip. We take realistic. We take you fill out a questionnaire, and that questionnaire helps us to be able to identify your weaknesses and your strengths, and then we put a plan in place to help you in the areas that we see that you need the most in, and we help you go from A to B in a realistic, practical way. So you're not just saying, oh, we actually show you a practical way. And we've had great success with it. So yes, definitely reach out to us. And we can help you with that.
Yeah. So, and I gave the analogy, with Serena Williams and with Tiger Woods. So with Serena Williams, right, when she's out there on the court, for those who watch tennis, and she's not performing to the level of even a commentator's expectation. If you ever watch, if you could think back, or if you could watch any other tennis player playing, where does the camera pan? For those who don't know, the camera pans in the stands to the coach, because they want to see the reaction from the coach of their client that's on the court, not doing what they coached her to do. Tiger Woods, a couple years ago, Tiger Woods lost the Masters, went back to his coach, and his coach changed his swing. Guess what happened? The following year, Tiger Woods won the Masters.
Right.
For those who don't think or understand how important a coach is, a coach will help you elapse time that it takes to get wherever it is that you say you want to go.
And we help take your vision, your ideas, and we show you how to manifest it in a way that is going to be both profitable to you and the people that you're actually servicing. And that doesn't that doesn't exclude us too, because we coach, and we also have coaches.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So we're not exempt to this concept. And the whole purpose is being able to be accountable with, and having, it's like the Bible say, iron sharpens iron. So does a man sharpen the countenance of his friend. Well, Thomas and I, we sharpen each other. How can two walk together except they agree? We sharpen each other and with our skills and our gifts, and make sure that we're on point. We don't take for granted that we get to come here every Sunday and just shoot from the hip. We have many meetings, and discussions and corrections and things that we both work on and fix on a constant basis, because in order for you to be great, you have to constantly put in the work. You have to constantly you have to be accountable to make sure that you are impactful. I like the question that Thomas asked me today. I was just like baffled. Like every time I think I got it, I'm like, God, please. Every time I think I'm like, it's like every time I think I'm good, but there's always something to learn,
Yeah,
and you're never going to be, especially if you want to grow. If you want to grow, you need people around you that's going to help you do just that.
Yeah, that's vital, and that ties right into that third thing, which is the belief, right? And you and I, we've been talking about belief for a long time.
Oh gosh,
because it is so critical, ladies and gentlemen. Because unfortunately, what happens is there was a narrative and or a story that was told about you. Now you're older, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. Well, this is what happens. The individual who told a story may still be alive, or they may not be alive, right? They may be in your life, or they may not be in your life, right? But this is what happens. We, as the adult now, what we do is we continuously press play. We keep rewinding and rehearsing the narrative of what they said and or what we did. Even though we're 20, 30 plus years past the event, we continuously hit play. And what that does is that weighs on our belief to be this other person that we aspire to become.
Absolutely.
So Nadir and I have these conversations: is break up the tape recorder, smash it, stop pressing play, and believe a different narrative. Right. How about you believe the simple fact that somewhere in the book that we read in the beginning in Genesis, it talks about how we were created. And how is that? We were created in our creator's image, in our likeness, right? So you can start to change your narrative and your belief about you, not about what they said about you. Right. And the reason why I'm saying it the way I'm saying it, because every single day, ladies and gentlemen, we have a choice. Every day we have a choice. And the creator doesn't overbearing our free will to make a choice. So instead of choosing to press play and rehearse in your mind over and over and over and over about what they said about you, how about you create a new narrative and realize your capabilities? Wow. It's a whole lot different about what they said. Because where are they and those who said it? I promise you, they're nowhere around. They don't even know what's going on inside of your head. They don't even know the obstacles and the blocks and the mental blocks that you deal with on an everyday basis, because they're going on about their life. And those that wronged you, and you're still at the moment when they wrong you, they somewhere else. Right. But in your mind, every time the situation comes up, every time you smell that smell, it's a trigger. It triggers you. It sends you back into a spiral. Right? So on this day, what we're talking about is changing the narrative of what you believe. Changing the narrative to believe something bigger and greater than yourself. Now, why is that important? That's significant. In the book, Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren, page 17, it says, it's not about you. I just had it over there. I put it away. It's not about you. Ladies and gentlemen, the faster we understand that principle, the faster we'll be able to move and do the things that we were ordained and governed to do. Why? Wow. Because the things that you do, Nadira, the things that we do, when we realize it's not about us, we take us out of the equation. Because us are the individuals who were hurt. We were wronged, right? We were all of these things. That's us. But when we alleviate us out of the equation and realize we're a conduit, a pass-through, because like we were put here.
Gotta do a Control-Alt-Delete. I like that.
Yeah. You see that? Erase it, right? And do the things to become the individuals that we were ordained to become. Not get caught up in what they said, who we were, or what we did, right? Yeah, we may have did those things, but it's not who we are, right? So when you understand that there's something inside of each and every one of you that's listening,
I love
there's something greater.
Wow, I just love that. That's stuck in my head. That Control-Alt-Delete, because control means that you've gathered. You are saying, hey, wait a minute, no longer. You're taking control. Alt, so to speak, is almost like you're saying, okay, you know what? We're going to shift this. What we're going to do with this information, and what we're going to do is we're going to delete. We control, Alt, and delete. And sometimes we have to do that. And sometimes you have to attach a name or a thing or particular person to the days in your mind. Because I think when you do that, it makes it a lot easier to deal with it. Because as long as it's just floating around in your head, you're never really genuinely or really intentionally attacking what's going in your head. So sometimes you have to attach, okay, where did this thought process come from? Why do I think this way? Why do I feel like this? We have to get to the root of why we think the way we do. It's almost like the story where we talked about, yes, to start all over. It's almost like the story with the lady with the mother who and many of you probably heard it, where she had the ham and she cut the sides of the ham, the front and the back of the ham, and put it in the pot. And her daughter asked her, Mom, why do you do that? Why do you cut the ham on the back and in the front? And she said, because my mother told me how to do it. So she went and she asked her mother, well, Grandma, why do you cut the ham in the front and the back? And she said, because my mother did it like that because she didn't have a pan big enough. So she had to cut the front and the back off to stick it in the pan. So sometimes we're creating certain behavior patterns and we don't even realize the root of where it's coming from. And those behavior patterns are thinking patterns also. How you think, how are you viewing money? How are you viewing growth? How are you viewing relationships? How are you viewing business? How are you viewing yourself has a lot to do with the foundational thought process of what you've learned. What I consider the law of first truth. Where is this stemming from? Well, let's deal with the root of that, because the reality is, Thomas, and we talk about this all the time. A lot of the times the way we think is hindering us from moving forward in our business and relationships because of how we were trained to think.
100%. Well said. Well said. Well said. Right. And that's really what we're talking about here tonight, right? Is really a way to shift our mindset, because when we do that in this new normal, not only do we change, but the people around us changes, right? And that's significant, right? So just think about a constant elevation, right? If we're constantly elevating ourselves and challenging ourselves and shifting our mind to think differently, not just based upon the plane and the consciousness that we're on, right? It starts to become embedded in our subconscious. So once it becomes embedded in our subconscious, we start to move a certain way arbitrarily, right? It's just like the first thing after you got up this morning, after you typically use the bathroom, what is the first thing that you did? You grabbed the toothbrush and brushed your teeth automatically. While your mind was thinking about cooking breakfast and doing this, and I got to go here and I got to there, but you brushing your teeth.
Right.
Because your subconscious took over, and now you're trying to, figure out what you're doing for the rest of the day. Right. Well, that's what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. When you constantly shift and elevate your mindset, it starts to get embedded in your subconscious. Right. So the old things that you used to do, you'll no longer do. Why? Because you're changing your mind. You're shifting your mind, because typically those things in terms of what they said about us are rooted in our subconscious.
Right.
And that's what we're acting out.
Right.
If you can get to that second layer, and then there's a third layer, but we just talk about the subconscious now. You get to that subconscious. Now your conversation will be different. Right? How you converse with people will be different. How you treat people will be different, and how you vision things will be different. And the reason why I said vision is because vision has nothing to do with sight. If I said how we see things, our eyes will deceive us. So if you close your eyes, Nadira, what do you see? What do you envision? Not with your eyes. Why is that significant? You and I talk about this. You said, Thomas, man, like you're really convicted about certain things. I said, yeah, Nadira, because I know what he told me. Right? I didn't say, yeah, I know what I saw. No, I know what he told me. So if I understand what he told me, I understand the vision that he gave me.
Right.
If I understand the vision that he gave me, why would I listen to somebody about what they see? Because they don't see what I see. Why? Because what I see is in my mind's eye. So if I tell them to close their eyes and I say, well, what do you see? They say nothing. I said, that's the point. If you don't see nothing, you're not going nowhere. Right? So be careful, right? So we always hear, you know, people always say, well, God told me this and God told me that about you. I said, you say, okay, so close your eyes and tell me what he said about me. Ooh, nothing. They're quiet. They got nothing because they got no conversation for you because they're only using their sight. That's it. They're only using their 5 senses.
Yeah.
Vision.
Yes. Right. Which is why it's important for us to really take time to really evaluate what it is that we bring, what it is that we've been called to do, you know. And sometimes that's the most difficult part. That's really the challenging part, really. Once we're able to identify exactly what problems we were called to solve, you know, it becomes a lot easier. Once you understand the why, the how comes, you know.
You see how View said.
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me.
Yes. And then so this person says, I see what I have trained myself to look for. Absolutely. You have to. And the way you train, let me tell you something. Let me give you a hint to that. The way you train yourself to do that is exposure. You have to expose yourself to different backgrounds, to different people, to different information, right? In order to expand your perspective. Because if your perspective is only based on where you are, then you're going to be limited with what you're going to what with the information that you have. So you have to expect. That's what continuous education and continual learning is really about: exposing yourself to new information, to new knowledge. Once you train, that's what you train yourself to do, is to expose and to spend the time. Don't spend so much time necessarily on the aesthetics of things. That comes afterwards. You need to make sure that you're skillful at knowing how to effectively change your ideal customer's life.
Yeah, 100%. And then I want to piggyback off of that. On the other side of the loop is now you need feedback. Right?
Yes.
Because that's the other side of the loop that we kind of stay away from, is the feedback, because the feedback helps us, kind of narrow down and get real singular focus on that thing. Right. When we don't get that other side of that loop, when we don't get that feedback, we'll just move vicariously thinking that we know that we're heading in the right direction, even for our customer. See, even for our client, right? The feedback is like a gauge. It helps keeps us on course. Right. That's very, very, very key, because most of us shy away from any type of, feedback. If it's negative feedback, or there's all types of fancy terminology for it, but it's just feedback, you guys, good or bad, right? Just take your emotion out of it and just listen to what's being said, even if you don't agree with it. It's fine. You don't have to agree with it, right? What I'm saying is we have to open up our spirit to it, because it'll help us, right? If you look at all of the successful people out there right now, I promise you, they've created a loop. They closed the loop to get feedback, which helps them identify their audience, man.
Right. And that feedback really just helps you to gauge your impact. Are you really helping? Because sometimes we think, that we're helping people, and we think because we feel good. And we feel like, but you need to know, how does your audience feel about what you're doing and what you're presenting? Are their lives being affected or impacted by what you do? That feedback is important because it kind of helps you to be able to know, okay, do I need to go more left or more right? Am I being more, do I need to withdraw a little bit or not? Am I really helping my right audience? Am I talking to the right people?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can be spending your time talking to people and they're not even your ideal audience. You're just talking in the thin air and nobody's impacted because they're not your ideal client, and it's okay. You got to be okay. You're not called to help everybody. I think the minute I realized that, a lot of stress just went off of me, because I realized I'm not called to help everybody. And I'm quite okay with that, because, all money is not my money. Everybody's clients and situations is not for me to deal with. Some stuff is above my pay grade, and I'm okay with that.
See what they say right there?
Says feedback makes it all make sense and helps us to realize and even bring the vision into fruition. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's the top of the hour. It goes fast. And we're just starting to dig in. It goes fast.
Yes.
So we appreciate you guys' time. We appreciate, everyone tuning in, and listening. Ms. Nadira, you could take us out.
All righty. Thank you so much for every one of you that have engaged with us tonight. We appreciate your feedback and your response and engaging with us. And if you have a question for Thomas and I here on Dinner with the Coaches, don't be afraid. Put it in the comments. We will continue to engage with you even after the broadcast. If you are a coach and you are looking for coaching, or you are a coach that wants to be a part of our show and be able to share your expertise with us, make sure you send us a message at the @handle Dinner with the Coaches. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you. Until next time, make sure you join me this Friday with Sisterhood Check-In, and we'll see you. Have a happy weekend, and a happy week, because it's already it's Sunday already.
Yeah, it's Sunday. It's Sunday.
My gosh, it was just Friday. Now it's
Go
Sunday.
fast.
Have an amazing week, and we'll see you throughout the week.
I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake.